Well, guys, it's Cricky here at the Off-Grid Camp. I'm here today hanging out, and we're going to do a little more work on the inside here. And I have to go underneath the camp, but right here in front of the stove and oven here is a little lull in the floor. And I don't know if it's because somebody just always stood in front of the stove, so to speak. It just feels like a little dip in the floor right here. And it's a little creaky, So I'm going to take some of the block I got, and I'm going to crawl underneath the camp here and put a pier right here up under the floor using a 20-ton bottle jack. Now, the camp is very secure, or I would not be crawling underneath of it. So it's got plenty of piers, and I'm not going to put super pressure on this enough to lift the camper up. I just want the floor to lift up a little bit, and then I'll put a big flat piece of wood or block underneath from the bottom side and set it down flat on the ground. So when you step on this, you're transferring it right to the ground through a pier. And, this camper is going nowhere. It's just a shell. Now, it seems like somebody's done some work in here before because the floor is retiled, and that's a good thing. I mean, somebody cared for it, and that's not a bad thing, Yeah, diesel over here. Just that piece. This is just such a cute bezel right here. This is Kit Kat Bezel, aka Little Warrior, but she is flat out on the bezel shelf. And yep, so I'm going to be firing the air up a little bit later on. Here we get the hottest part of the day is between 3 and 6 o'clock p.m. Back growing up down South Jersey there on the farmlands, it used to be between noon and 3. We're more north here, so for some reason, it just seems to be the way. Maybe it's the way the sun hits the property here solely. I do not know, but man, she's a scorcher always between 3 and 6. So we'll save the air for then, and I'm going to go outside and do some of my chores. Let me power up this first of all here. Yeah, let's see what we're pumping at anyway. Yeah, it always hangs at 13.7. That means the battery's full. That's where that baby's at. So I just finished up some Cafe Bustelo, some coffee, and boy, talk about robust. Woof. But well, let me get outside underneath of this thing here and pinpoint the exact spot right here. And it should lift, maybe even under the countertop edge. It should lift this whole fridge up a little bit. I don't want to be in front of it. I kind of want to be under here to grab the edge of everything here. The edge of this cabinetry, the edge of the wall, underneath the fridge. And I'm going to put something with some surface area flat underneath and then jack it up. And then put some block underneath of it to keep it there. And that way this baby goes nowhere. It's kind of permanent like a house would be. That's the idea. We just put her in and she's not getting towed or going anywhere. It's just make it solid, make it good, make it last. So we'll see you in a bit. And so we're outside here, and I have the front sheeting off the camp. You saw in the last video. Let me move these gas cans. I've laid these planks so I can maneuver under the camp without getting muddy, because there's no sun under here. I have 2 blocks and a 20-ton bottle jack under a metal frame under the camper floor, right where the low spot was in the floor. And I've also tucked a 2x4 in some of the metal under the metal framing to level the floor up. I use the scissor jacks on all 4 corners of this. I leave them in place and let the weight of the camp down on the block, but it's real easy to adjust this. I just crank the scissor jack and shim it and then let it back down on the block if I need to level anything. You can even look at the table here and see how the backrest of the chair is even with the table kind of. The floor here was like sagging and kind of leaning. Everything is straightened up now and solid and level. And the whole thing is just sitting on a cement foundation underneath, right on the metal frame is what I'm doing. And it's just picking it right up. And I've put some supports under, you know, cross members and such under there, but it's just so solid now. And it feels just so much better than it did before. And coming to the inside of the camp here, a little nostalgia there. And we are really getting it nice. Now this floor is good and level, and the sink is square. Everything just feels better and looks better. When it's tight, tough, and good, you just feel confident, you know. And the old saying is, when you look good, you feel good. Anyhow, down in the cubby hole here, and taking a look at the water level, and we're still up to here, above the first line. We're on this side of the camp, and as you can see, she's ready to holler. I'm trying to see which way the wind's blowing. It looks like it's coming this way, so that means it's coming. I better get inside. This is charging my batteries and running the air conditioner, and it's gonna pour rain and lightning and thunder, but it doesn't really matter here because we're off grid. It doesn't strike a power line and come through and short your stuff out. You know what I mean? We don't really deal with any of that stuff because we looked at the water level earlier today and it was a little above a quarter. And so we'll see what happens after this and how high it goes. This is what I use these for. Like, it takes a little bit to make them clink because there's not a pendulum hanging in the middle of them. They're in a row. So I like it like this. It means a storm's coming. The hens are making their way down to the house there. You see them? Oh, she's thick. Look at that sky. It's just white gray, like with rain. Just soaking. All right. Okay, guys, it's the next morning. Now, we used to be right here, remember? Now we're up here. So, we are coming from the bottom up. 1 notch, 2 notches, halfway or more full from about 20 minutes of hard rain yesterday. So, that's what we got out of that. A little later in the day here, as you see, of course, Gertie has to come see what's going on. So I pulled up the plastic here. We're going to dump a bunch of stone on this. Guys, I'm just not ready to do it yet. I know I keep talking about it. And this is the weed barrier. It goes around the camp to make it easy to mow along and weed whack along without getting, you know, weeds under the steps, like this kind of stuff where you got to get in under the house. Sort of making it go around the outside edge. But there's still underground stuff like this to do, still things that I want to do before I dump the stone on anything. And so basically what I wanted to show you is I got under the plastic and I leveled this off here because the ground is, like, you know, down. And so I flattened this one out and this one. I'm just going to put a nice bench across here up under the eave here. But just for the property, I want it like country chic. You know, I'm big on using and repurposing stuff like this. This was under an old single wide trailer that was removed and I got the free block, so I went and grabbed it. Now let me tell you this, I'm going to put some paint on these, like probably like the light gray shop floor paint. You can just ooze it all over these blocks. Now I like repurposed stuff, but I still I like it to look nice, you know. I like it to be wipeable, and that shop floor stuff, like, you could pour oil on it and you can wipe it. It doesn't allow anything to penetrate the pores of the block. It gives it that school hall. You know, remember your elementary school blocks on your walls of your school, how shiny and smooth they were? And that's what I'm talking about. But we'll get some paint on these and put a nice colorful bench across that. And I'm almost wrapped up when I get the cap blocks for here. The center of the floor is definitely secured. The next vid, you'll probably see me doing the plumbing. If there's one between that, I do not know. But the next thing to do is get under there. Now that everything is secure, once it's all up and in, I'm able to get underneath on these boards and run all the plumbing tubes down to the corner here. And then we're going to zipper down we're going to turn off to the greenhouse, and we're going to go down to both apple trees and one straight on down the yard. I could see daylight now because it's much safer feeling to me, you know, to have this, you know, under the hole, like 5 of them under the front of this thing. The last but not least secure thing is to go from the outside of this post right here. And I want you to look through here. You see the frame sticking out right there. Well, you look all the way through. and that frame's sticking out on the other side. So I'm going to take like a 2x12 and go against this board straight up under that frame all the way to the other side and hook to the post on the other side and lag bolt it to the post, so that even if the bricks topple, this thing will be hanging on the board front and back. You know, I can go down the middle, I can go down the outside one all the way through to the back side, and that's lower, so we'll slide the board all the way through out the other side and then lift it up on this side, carriage bolt it through, and then have it just touch the frame here and here, and it can't go anywhere because these are cemented in. And this is all for support, but in that way I don't have to worry about heaving. I don't have to worry about anything, even like hurricane, tornado stuff. Unless it hits us directly, the camp is pretty well sitting here solidly. So with that said, guys, peace, love, and happiness. Thanks for watching the channel. We got a lot to do here, but when all systems are buttoned up, it looks like a mess now. Got to crack a few eggs before you get the meal. Guys, peace, love, and happiness. God bless, and take care, and see you next time.